попросили здесь рассказать речь, и первое, что я понял, то что хоть я родился на самом деле в России, и мои родители начали говорить со мной по-русски, но русский очень сложный язык, я очень плохо говорить по-русски. Поэтому я буду говорить свою речь на английском. Мне это привычнее. So, switching to English, I was asked to come here and speak about entrepreneurship. And 3 days ago, when I was starting to prepare the speech, I know this was very timely, 3 days ago, I noticed on Facebook that I put up my name and what I'm going to speak about. And as they just said, I was supposed to speak about success and how to become successful. The problem is that that was a bit of a surprise to me. But to do my job, I think I should say a few words about that. First, I have no idea how to become successful. Second, I don't think anybody knows any idea how to really become successful. But if I want to give you some sort of advice on that, I will say this. Don't become an entrepreneur. Don't do it. That's a very bad career choice. Instead, what you should do, you should find something that you really love, something that you're super passionate about, and do that instead. If for some reason, good or bad, that's actually entrepreneurship, then you can do entrepreneurship. But now that we said that, what I actually really want to talk to you about is something else entirely. Something that is a part of our lives every day, something many people don't think about at all, but something that controls everything that we do. I want to talk to you about luck and chance. Luck is in everything that we do. When you wake up in the morning and make breakfast, there's a probably 0.00005% chance that your toaster will kill you. That's not going to be a good thing. And then you go to work, hopefully still alive and not in an ambulance. And once you get to work, there's some chance that you'll get fired. If you're like most people, quite a good chance. And if you get fired, you'll probably end up in a bar, right? And if you end up in a bar, there's a very small % chance you're going to meet the love of your life right there and then. So in the end, that will be a pretty good day. But the chances of that are very, very small. So luck controls everything that we do. But the problem is that we really cannot estimate luck. We're really horrible at it. We cannot do it if our life depended on it. So let me give you an example. Suppose you have a choice of careers. You can become a politician or you can become a journalist. Can you estimate what are the exact chances that you can become the best journalist in the world or a president of a country? If you have an alien passport, the chance is 0, just so you know. But what is that? What is the chance? You have no idea. What is worse is that even if you can estimate some chance, you don't know all the possible outcomes from the start. So for example, what if you become a politician, but that will lead to a journalistic career later on? You don't know if that can happen. And vice versa, if you become a journalist, maybe you'll eventually become, a startup CEO. You don't know. So very, very bad at estimating luck, and we're very, very bad at estimating chance. And as a result of that, we are very afraid of luck. We're very afraid of chance. And because we're afraid of chance, we try to, not control it. We don't think about it, really. And because of that, our life is very difficult. As a part of my career, I played poker professionally and was winning some money there. And what I realized that poker is a game of luck. How many people here think that poker is based on luck? Show of hands. Cool, about 50% think it's luck. What if I told you that scientifically they made a study that although the hands that you play out, the cards, that's luck, but the actual decisions that you make and that you can win is pure skill. They looked at 100 million hands and they showed that 75% of all of these hands, people never showed their cards at the end. They never showed it. The cards had absolutely no meaning. The people that won only won because they bet correctly. So luck has absolutely no meaning to them. What does that show? That shows that luck, although it can be volatile, and for my personal professional career as a poker player, it was not a very long career, it was a very hard one, that you can control luck. You can control those volatile, difficult environments. And what I learned from that is that I wanted to somehow transfer this to real life. So when I started thinking about it, I realized that life is a little bit more complicated than poker. Surprise, surprise. And there's a few problems with life. Life has a problem. And the problem with life is that, unlike poker, you cannot make the same decisions thousands and thousands and thousands of times. You don't know if something that you're doing is statistically good or bad. In life, you most of the time just have one shot at things. You just have one chance. And that makes it very difficult, very scary. So my hypothesis was, okay, if I cannot do a lot of statistics, maybe then I can increase my luck chances of successful events. And I thought that if we're so scared of risk, if we're so scared of randomness, maybe we should look for it. Maybe we should search for randomness. And that's what I did. I started looking for randomness. And my hypothesis was that we need to look for it as much as we can. And if possible, that we need to actually go out there and look actively for it. One of the things, they told me to wait. If I click it once, and they said that if I click many times, that it's gonna, show all the slides there. So I'm not gonna click anything right now. Hands up in the air. Thanks. So one of the things that I do as well is I organize startup events. From very small ones, 50 people startup events, to really, really big ones, 1,000 people and plus. As a result, I meet a lot of people, hundreds, thousands of people. And in that process, I realized that the more open I was to randomness and chance, the better connections I made with people. For example, I started hanging out at bars where people went to. I started accepting invitations to dinners that I wouldn't normally accept invitations to. I started talking to people for a very long time if I found it even a little bit interesting. And from that, I built really cool connections. And then I was like, but what can I do? How can I improve it even more? How can I make this work all the time? And what I started doing then is I started preparing. I started looking for which hotels are the speakers staying at, which bar is the closest to that hotel. I started looking at what kind of people go to events, what kind of people I want to meet. And then I started looking for these random opportunities, random chances, and it started to increase my chances for success in everything that I do. But what do you do at these events? I think events is a good place to look at for these sort of coincidences, like a conference like this one. So one of the things I think you should do first, you should prepare, right? Most of the people that come to the event, you just kind of show up, and they expect miracles to happen, right? That's not how it works exactly. You need to look at what kind of speakers are there. What are you interested in? How many times are you going to dedicate to networking outside? How active you're going to be? And then you need to set measurable goals. Nobody does this almost. Measurable goals like, how many people do you want to meet? 15. How many speakers do you want to talk to? 2. Make something that you can really, really measure. And that will help a lot. But then there's 3 practical things that I think are very, very simple that can help you a lot. One thing that happens, and it was mentioned already in the morning, is that when you come to a conference, you have a lot of people you kind of know. You know what you should do when you see somebody you know at the conference, their friend or somebody that you talked to before? You should turn around and run in the opposite direction, right? That's the idea. Because you can speak to them at any time of day, you can call them up, you can have common parties. There's no immediate need to speak to them. You want to look for people that you don't know at all. You want to create those random chance events. The second thing that I get asked a lot is, but how do I do it? How do I approach these people? What do I say? What are the opening lines? Thanks for the light. Awesome. What do I do to them? How can I make sure that they speak to me? And I'm like, well, you know what? It's not like you're picking up a girl in a bar and you need a pickup line. You might need a pickup line in the bar to pick up a girl or a boy. I don't know. But to do that, yes. But in an event like this, everybody is open to networking. You want to do it, right? Everybody wants to talk to you. So when you come up to them and you go something really simple, even like, hi, I'm Dmitri. It's not like they're going to go, oh my God, that was such a horrible opening line, right? I'm going to tell all my girlfriends about it. I'm never going to speak to this guy again. So that's not going to happen. So you can say absolutely anything you want. The third thing that I think is very important is that what do you do when you actually speak to people? What you need to be is asking meaningful questions and actually listening to people. What are they talking about? What is really interesting about them? What most people do instead is they tell us a story about themselves. They pitch, they tell us about their startups, their ideas. especially if we're talking to, a startup is talking to an investor, the 99.9% of the time they go like, here's my startup idea, I want 100,000 euros from you. And that happens to an investor all the time. Again, that's like taking out a girl on a date, and at the end of the date going like, can I marry you? How many people think that will work? Probably not that many. You have to be a little bit patient. You have to wait a bit. I tried that. I actually waited for 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks to propose to my wife over there. It was a very hard time. I really wanted to do it on the first date, but I listened to myself and I waited. So with that, another thing that I think is extremely important is that when you listen to people and figure out what they want, help them. Connect them to people in a network that can help, even if that doesn't benefit you at all whatsoever. Try to help them, because you don't know what's going to happen from it. I did that a lot, and what happened was that these people would come back to me months and months after I forgot about them and say, hey, you put me in touch with this great person, we're doing business together, how can I help you? Thanks to that, I found some great speakers for my conference, such as the founder of MySpace, to come to our event. So do that a lot, and be open to randomness. Let me tell you a story about me that happened through randomness. A friend of mine came up to me and said, hey man, I know this multi-billion-dollar company, I'm not sure what's the name, and they think that they want to maybe ship some containers to somewhere in Africa. Can we sell something to them? Oh, by the way, I know nothing about logistics. And I was like, well, I know nothing about logistics too. And what most people would do in that situation, they would go, this guy's insane. Right? I'm not going to speak to him. This is going to be a waste of my time. I'm not going to do it. This is pointless. I didn't. I listened to him. And I thought, okay, this is a nice challenge, but we have 3 problems. 1, we have nothing to do with logistics, and I have no idea what containers look like, and I've never done anything like that. 2, even if we did know anything about logistics, then we are just 2 people who don't know anything about it, and a multi-billion-dollar company, one of the biggest in the world, would never work with 2 people that know nothing about it and have no company that has ever done anything about it. So we need to approach them somehow. And finally, we didn't know what to sell. So we started to look for that from this last point. And thankfully, my friend, he worked in a port. And he knew a little bit about how the ports work. And he said, well, maybe we can offer port stuff, port logistics. And we're like, okay, that's a good idea. But we looked around and we figured out, yes, we maybe can do that. But then we're like, but how do we approach them? If I send them an email from my Gmail account, it's not really going to work. And then we're like, okay, let's find somebody that has a logistics company. And we did. We had found a friend that had a very successful logistics company in a completely unrelated field, of course. And we asked, hey, can we use your company name for this really cool project of ours? And him being really good friend of ours, he said, sure, why not? I just want most of your profits. And we were like, yeah, sure, why not? And what happened was that he gave us an email address to use. And we sent an email to this multi-billion-dollar company. They replied, and they asked me to come to their Geneva office next week. I did. And when I was there, I realized that this is a completely new product line for them. They never shipped these containers, ever. And I was like, well, what do you actually want to do? I ask a lot of questions when I try to go to meetings. And well, they want to ship them to this specific place in Africa. And I was like, but do you want somebody to do the whole thing for you, from A to B, from door to door? And I'm like, yeah, sure, can you do it? I thought for a second. I was like, I still don't know anything about logistics. I'm like, sure, we can do it. I'll send you the quote next week. And I came back home, and I was like, well, I kind of offered to send the whole containers to Africa. And they're like, but we know nothing about it. Well, I said, you have a week to figure that out. We looked for a partner. We found the quote. We found a good partner. We sent the quote, a year of negotiations, and then we sent our first 30 containers to Africa. Now we send containers to all over the world every month. Not a lot, sometimes a lot. With this continuous business, that's all the time. So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story, the 2 guys that had nothing to do with logistics, knew absolutely nothing, all the things were absolutely random, just entertained an idea. We gave it a chance, right? And we thought that, hey, maybe we can do this. And it worked out. The fun story is that this is the containers that we ship. I have never seen one. I've never seen it live. I've shipped hundreds of them, but I've never seen it. I have no idea how it's put on a car, what happens there, how they shift it. They send me pictures sometimes when they break. I'm like, okay, great. So, I know nothing about that. But I know that we offer the best price, and I know that we offer the best service. All right? So you can do anything. And what's the cost of this? What's the cost of this idea of doing something like that? Couple of emails, a bit of research, talking to some random people, asking some random questions, and there it is. Very simple. So I did that a lot in life, and as a result, I've tried many different things. It led me to a lot of random events. I've worked in so many different industries I can't even imagine. And I also met my wife thanks to that. So my question to you is, why not do that, you know? What's the cost of going to more events? What's the cost of trying things more? So my final thing, and my final thought that I want to leave you with is, why not introduce a little bit of randomness to your life? Thank you.
Спасибо, Дмитрий. Спасибо. И, как я и обещал, в первой части мы подготовили для вас несколько видео, не одно видео, которое мы вам показали. И сейчас бы мы хотели показать вам видео с TEDx, с лосновяйского TEDx, на котором норвитянин